Just ahead on CTV News, the County Council votes toward the P3 Schools project, and the county's Park Police swears in a new chief. Plus, we sit down with one of the at-large candidates. Those stories and more, CTV News starts now.
Good evening, it's July 16th. Thanks so much for joining us for CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton. Well, the Prince George's County Council voted today on a memorandum of understanding for phase 2 of the P3 school construction project. The MOU failed to pass earlier this month amidst concerns from several council members about clear allocation of funds. And the project is both a public and private school partnership that will impact the county. And although there is still some hesitancy, the MOU passed today unanimously.
I kind of wish we didn't have to be here. I wish we could just passed this last week, approved this last week, and we would be doing something else today because we're pretty busy already. But we wanted to make sure that today we have a unanimous vote from the County Council approving this MOU for the P3 to make sure that the $850 million that the state is putting in actually comes to our school system.
Phase 2 is going to bring it to 8 schools, 6 elementary schools, and 2 K-8 schools. And again, this is something that we know is something that works because it already has.
I still have concerns, but I'm moving forward. As I told the school board member Shayla Stafford last week, I'm going to vote in support of the MOU today. But honestly, I had to do my due diligence, and I think that that's proper, and that's something that I should do.
And some of the concerns raised in the failed passing earlier this month were teacher salary increase and impact on student programming. And Prince George's County Park Police gets a new chief today. Meet Chief Jermaine Haywood, who was sworn in earlier today at Newton White Mansion. Gathered by friends and family colleagues, Haywood is excited to take on the new challenges ahead in his new role.
So the residents of Prince George's County are getting a resident who loves and values and understands that Prince George's County is great and that we have some challenges, right? But that doesn't make us a bad place to be. So they're getting somebody who's committed to this community, somebody who loves and lives in this community, and somebody who will not rest until I see the best from our Park Police for this community.
And congratulations to Chief Haywood. Now, the 2024 Republican National Convention kicked off in Milwaukee, Wisconsin yesterday, just 2 days after Donald Trump was wounded in an assassination attempt. But as the convention opened, Trump announced on Truth Social that he had picked Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his vice presidential running mate. Now, the crowd applauded Trump as he entered wearing a large white bandage over his right ear. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Governor Kristi Noem, Senator Katie Britt, and Amber Rose were among the speakers. The convention does run through Thursday. And among the 4,000 law enforcement officers working the RNC, 20 are from the Prince George's County Police Department. Another 15 are with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. But agencies from 24 states and Washington, D.C. responded to a request sent out by Milwaukee Police. Now, officials plan to assign the outside officers to positions that don't involve direct contact with people, such as traffic control. Milwaukee Police will have primary contact with members of the community. And the web address is angelaalsobrooks.org, but the site is powered by the Larry Hogan campaign. The new Hogan website looks like Alsobrooks' official page, but instead of promoting her agenda, the site calls her another partisan machine politician who doesn't deliver. The website, which trashes Alsobrooks' record on crime, education, immigration, and garbage collection, does include a disclaimer which reads, paid for by Hogan for Maryland Incorporated. Now, the Alsobrooks campaign called the tactic mean-spirited and added, quote, Larry can misconstrue whatever he wants, but we know his record and we know that this race represents who will have the 51st seat. And the FBI is now warning Marylanders about the rise in armed robberies targeting people leaving banks and ATMs, and it's called jugging. And earlier this month, we reported a string of the thefts that took place in Bowie and around the county. Now, the FBI says across Maryland there were 21 incidents in a single week, but here are some tips from the FBI to stay safe. They're first telling us to be aware of your surroundings, but always be vigilant when withdrawing or depositing money from a bank or ATM. Also, pay attention to individuals backed into parking spaces who do not exit their vehicles to conduct business. And lastly, drive directly to your next destination. But if you suspect you're being followed, make sure you drive to the nearest police station or a crowded, well-lit area and call 911. Well, some big news on the financial front here in our state. Earlier this month, Governor Moore dropped a bombshell. Brace yourselves, folks. Our state ranked in over $1.1 billion in total sales just in the first year since cannabis legalization. So I actually sat down with the CEO of a local dispensary and talked with her about the impact it's had on her business. Tonight, a story of high demand and high stakes at Marion, Maine and Capitol Heights. Customers lined up early, eager to purchase cannabis as the dispensary doors swung open at 10 a.m.
There were about 150,000, give or take, medical patients in the state of Maryland. And, there are 6 million people plus in Maryland. So, it's really multiplied the amount of people we can even serve.
Hope Wiseman, CEO of Marion, Maine, has seen the evolution firsthand. What started 6 years ago as a medical cannabis haven has now blossomed into a bustling adult use hotspot.
We've done well. We've probably about 5 times our revenue from medical to adult use.
Governor Wes Moore recently made headlines revealing staggering sales figures, over $1.1 billion in just the first year since legalization. But it's not just about the numbers. Moore claims the adult use market is reshaping Maryland's economic landscape, creating new opportunities for jobs and wealth.
Impacting folks who are looking to get barber's licenses. This is impacting folks who are looking to get government contracts. This is impacting folks who are looking to get student loans and home loans.
Beyond economics, there's a deeper impact. This industry aims to right the wrongs of the past, offering communities once devastated by the war on drugs a chance at redemption. Just last month, Governor Moore took historic action, pardoning 175,000 Marylanders with cannabis convictions, marking a pivotal moment in the fight for justice.
Just because you're a Black person that has been impacted by the war on drugs doesn't mean you want to open up a dispensary. It doesn't mean any of that. It might just mean that you would like, your family put back together that had been disenfranchised. It might mean that you would like your record expunged.
Well, a 27-year-old Mount Rainier man has been charged in connection with the stabbing death of another man. And this is the suspect, Devon Henderson. He's actually charged with killing 51-year-old Julio Lopez Cosme from Arlington, Virginia. Investigators say the crime happened Sunday near 33rd Street at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, Lopez Cosme was pronounced dead at the scene. They say Henderson stabbed the man during an argument. Now, Henderson does face first-degree murder charges and is being held without bond. Meanwhile, a suspect has been identified and arrested in connection to a Sweetland shooting earlier this month. But on your screen is 23-year-old Nicholas Norris, who has been charged with first and second-degree murder. The shooting took place July 5th near Auth Road when the alleged victim was shot at but not harmed by Norris during an attempted robbery. Investigators also searched Norris's home, finding firearms, firearm parts, and equipment for manufacturing firearms. But anyone with information is urged to call 301-772-8960. And today we hit 100 degrees in hot weather, and it's starting to affect your trash pickup. Now, the National Weather Service released an excessive heat warning with a heat index reaching 110 degrees. The warning will be in effect until 8 p.m. starting yesterday. Trash pickup around the county will begin at 5 a.m. for the rest of the summer to protect workers from the heat. But the time adjustment ends September 30th. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come, a local tradition is entering its 14th year. We'll have more details when we come back.
I surrender.
All right, pal.
Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
What's that?
Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Can I play with it?
No, absolutely not. It's not a toy. You know that. Anyway, I need it to protect you, your sister, and Mom.
But what about the 8 kids who get shot every day by mistake?
Where'd you hear that?
Where do you keep it?
It's hidden.
I bet it's on the top shelf of the closet, under your sweatshirts. Is it loaded? Remember when I found my Christmas gift? You always told me to be curious.
No, No, that's not what I meant.
And when it's just me and Mom, I could use the gun to protect her.
No, Justin, I promise. I'm always here for you.
But Dad, you're not always here.
Sunshine through today with seasonal temperatures. We should reach our normal high of about 82 degrees by this afternoon. Clear skies tonight with a low near 70.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
You budget. You pay bills.
Yet somehow, women like you, like me,
are 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to save ourselves by setting a goal to save 2% more of our income for our retirement.
Why 2? 1% honors you.
And 1% honors all womankind.
So come on, learn more about the 2% challenge at WeSaySaveIt.org.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Term limits will be on the ballot in Montgomery County this November. More than 20,000 signatures were collected by county residents in favor of term limits for the county executive. Now, if the initiative passes, it will bar any Montgomery County executive from serving more than 2 terms. And if you're jet setting this summer, you may be experiencing more flight delays. The FAA is facing staffing shortages of air traffic controllers and technicians, which could result in longer and more frequent maintenance issues. Now, retirement has been outpacing hiring at the agency, and training for newly hired technicians can take years. Just a few months ago, 2 separate incidents resulting in near collisions between planes at Reagan National Airport had lawmakers criticizing the FAA for accepting more flights than it can handle. Aviation safety officials say that these issues could get worse if the agency doesn't solve its staffing issues. But some good news, inflation in the United States cooled in June for a 3rd straight month. In a surprising report, consumer prices declined 0.1% from May to June, after being stagnant the previous month. Now, the latest inflation numbers could help convince federal policymakers that inflation is returning to their 2% target. Now, even as inflation slows on the costs of food, rent, and health care, other necessities remain much higher than they were before the pandemic. And today is Prime Day. Amazon customers will be able to find epic deals on top brands today and tomorrow, but Amazon is warning shoppers to be aware of rising phishing scams. Over 1,200 new domains associated with Amazon emerged last month, seeing out of every 80 new Amazon-related domains identified as malicious or suspicious contains the phrase Amazon Prime. And the Lake Arbor Jazz Fest is kicking off its 14th year. The festival, which started as a one-day event, has changed a few details since its inception. But some may say it's only gotten better and bigger, as it is now taking place over 5 days at multiple venues.
Because now we have Woodmore Country Club, we have a celebrity golf outing, and a kickoff party at Woodmore Country Club. MGM is hosting 3 events, Thursday night, Friday night, and Sunday brunch. And then, of course, the all-day event at Lake Arbor Community Center, where we're there all day, gates open at 12, with the last show going on at 8 o'clock p.m. In the past, we didn't really attract a lot of people because we didn't have national jazz and R&B artists. So now when you talk about Avery Sunshine, Gerald Albright, Mesa, these are the artists that people want to come and see. That's the major change in what people can expect this year. And we're still going to have our local, young, up-and-coming artists. And we started out like that, but we just supplemented to line up with national artists.
And the festivities kick off tomorrow evening at the Woodmore Country Club. But for tickets or more information, make sure you visit lakearborjazzfest.com. And still to come on CTV News, Byron Scott sits down with the at-large candidate, Bowie Mayor Tim Adams. We'll have more news right after the break.
It's getting stronger.
Yeah, you know we couldn't protect them if it wasn't for our supporters.
Well, maybe we should thank them?
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again.
Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say,
I hope it always will stay this way.
My hat is off.
Won't you stand up and take a bow?
thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thanks for being a friend.
The special election for the County Council's at-large seat is 3 weeks away. In the next coming week, CTV will introduce you to each of those candidates. Joining us today in the studio is candidate and Bowie Mayor Tim Adams. Mr. Adams, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me today.
Talk about your decision. You've been mayor now 5 years in Bowie. Why you want to now be an at-large member of County Council?
Well, the main reason is because of the people. I got so many calls and texts and people asking me to run. They asked if I could bring my experiences and my integrity to the council. And I thought about it with my family and decided that I needed to step up and make sure that I could provide that support and that insight that I have and the experiences I have to our county.
So to County Council, you bring what that is not there right now?
Yeah, I bring some of the experience that truly goes with business. I understand economic development, and I understand what it takes. You see, I've grown a business from the trunk of my car to a national prominence. And I've also worked with so many other small businesses in supporting them and helping them to grow.
What are the most pressing issues right now in Prince George's County?
I think the most pressing issues right now are safety. I think we have to make sure that people have to be able to feel safe in their homes and when we're on the street. Education is a huge issue for us. We need to make sure that we're doing the right things to support our children. And of course, economic development, because that'll help fuel being able to support the other two as well.
So what is your plan to bring in new businesses? That always creates a larger tax base. How will you do that?
Well, I think what we have to look at is making sure that we make Prince George's County business friendly. And a part of that is looking at our processes. When people come and talk about how long it takes them to create their businesses, to build and bring industry in, I think we need to look at that. I mean, look at our permitting process. How do we get best practices? How do we make sure we streamline those things? How do we hold accountability? You know, how do we really draw them in?
Let's talk about another big issue here in the county. It's hot, it's the summertime, crime usually goes up in the summertime. What's your plan to combat youth crime and carjackings here in Prince George's County?
I think one of the first things we need to look at is the shortage we have in public safety. When you look at our police officers, we are down so many at this time. And I think one of the things we need to do is really increase that. Now, during the Wayne Curry administration, we faced a similar thing, where it was hard to recruit and get public safety, particularly police officers in. And we turned that around. And we became the jurisdiction that even the Washington Post wrote up about having a wait list of people. And that was something I was intimately involved and helped to design that process.
I know another topic big for you is public-private partnerships here in the county. Talk about your support of those and why you think they're so important.
Oh, I think that is so important. When we start talking about public-private partnerships, we're talking about those that work. We're talking about bringing in and having business be a part of the community, i.e. working with government and showing that we're business friendly. That gets to that point of where you talk about great public-private partnership, that you have an opportunity to show everyone what Prince George's is about and about how we are business friendly.
Let's move on to the area of housing. Having more housing is one thing. Having enough affordable housing is another issue. How do you guarantee more affordable housing here in Prince George's County?
Well, I think we need to look at that, but make sure that we look through it through the right lens. And what I mean by that, when we talk about affordable housing and workforce housing, we have to make sure that we're doing it in such a way that it's smart development, that we have the infrastructure to maintain that. I think we do people a disservice if we're building housing and other things where there aren't the schools that we can, the capacity, the public safety, all of those things. So we have to match that up. But we also have to make sure that we're looking at market rate housing as well, because we have to make sure that we can help grow our middle class, and that we can have people who come in who can pay additional tax resources on property to our homes. So we still have to have a balance.
You mentioned schools. Let's talk about the blueprint for Maryland's future and the dollars here in the county. How do you ensure those resources are there to make the programs go through?
Well, as we know that Maryland, I think, did a disservice somewhere to Prince George's in Baltimore, only from the standpoint of it is hard for Prince George's County and, for example, Baltimore, to match the matching funds they have to do. Mm-hmm. But we have to be dedicated to the blueprint. We have to look at how we're going to make sure that that works. And a big part of that goes back to economic development and bringing in businesses and growing businesses, which is something that I haven't experienced that nobody else on the council currently has to the extent that I have.
Talk about one last issue here, climate issues, a big issue here in the country, in the county. What can you do as an at-large member to address climate issues here in Prince George's?
I think what we need to look at is continuing to do the processes we're doing for green cities and making sure that everything we do, even with our buildings. You know, I myself was on the board of the National Aquarium. I'm a commissioner for the Critical Area Commission, so I understand and am actively engaged in climate change and making sure that our environment is safe. So those are the kind of things we can do, is bring in, especially when we talk about housing and how we do that. There are so many new ways to bring in and make sure that the housing that we do, that we push that they be green and they support our climate.
Okay, Mayor Tim Adams, thank you very much. All the best in your run for at-large seat.
Hey, thank you so very much for having me, and I appreciate that. And, you know, we look forward to making Prince George's County even a better place than it is now.
Okay. Well, make sure to tune in Thursday as we introduce you to another candidate, Judy Mickens-Murray.
And so to come on CTV News, Simon Buggs is here with our Tuesday Sports page.
That's right, Michaela. I've got some great sports news to share today. Hey, everyone, and coming right up, an Orioles pitcher joins some elite company, and the Washington Commanders make another front office change. Stay right there.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Jason, let's go see your room.
That's not right. How was it? Is it good?
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
All right, sports fans, grab a seat and get excited because it's time for your Tuesday Sports Page. We begin with some news from the major leagues as the Baltimore Orioles selected outfielder Austin Overn in the third round of the MLB draft yesterday. Over the last 2 seasons for the Trojans, Overn recorded a .291 batting average. He also had 12 homers, 70 RBIs, 23 doubles, and 19 triples. And on the defensive end, the California native has a career fielding percentage of .978 as well as 300 putouts. Overn also earned multiple accolades during his time as a Trojan, as he was named a freshman All-American, a Pac-12 selection, and a member of the Pac-12 defensive team. Some of the other draft picks the Birds had yesterday was pitcher Chase Alpert out of Auburn and catcher Ryan Stafford from California Polytechnic University. And sticking with baseball news, the day is finally here, baseball fans. The MLB All-Star Game will be played tonight. And one player from the Baltimore Orioles has earned a starting spot in the big game, as pitcher Corbin Burnes will start for the American League. In Burnes' first season in Baltimore, the right-hander has a 2.43 earned runs average. This will be the former Cy Young Awards winner, 4th straight All-Star nod, and he will compete against Pittsburgh Pirates rookie Paul Skeens. He's also the 5th pitcher in Orioles history to start in an All-Star game, and just the first to do so since 1980. The American League and National League teams will take the diamond at 8 o'clock. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders continue to revamp their front office. It was reported yesterday, that Washington has hired former Carolina Panthers general manager Scott Fitterer as a personnel executive. Fitterer will support the team's front office as well as scouting departments. Fitterer has over 2 decades of NFL experience, as not only was he a general manager in Carolina, but he was also an area scout for the New York Giants and was a player personnel executive with the Seattle Seahawks before taking the job with the Panthers in 2021. He served as the Panthers GM from 2021 to 2023. Switching gears to the world of basketball, it was announced earlier today that Joe Bryant, the father of NBA Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant, has passed away. Like his son, Joe was a basketball player himself, playing overseas as well as in the NBA for the Philadelphia 76ers, San Diego Clippers, and Houston Rockets. No cause of death has been given, and Bryant was 69 years old. And wrapping up sports, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and the rest of the Washington Wizards Summer League team will take the court tonight. Washington will match up against the Portland Trail Blazers at 8:30. And that is your Tuesday Sports Page.
All right, Simon, thanks so much. But before we go, let's take a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, expect some scattered storms throughout the area. Tomorrow, be on the lookout for more showers and thunderstorms, but all day with a high of 97 and a low of 74. Thursday, about a 30% chance of rain is expected, and we're looking at a high of 86. Friday is going to be a beautiful day with a high of 87 and a low of 70 to kick off the weekend. And a quick look at our community calendar. The Bowie Senior Center is hosting a magic show. Watch in amazement as minds are read, ropes are cut in half and restored, and money appears from nowhere and much more. The show takes place from tomorrow from 12:30 to 1:30 at the Bowie Senior Center. But for more information, make sure you contact that number right there on your screen. And that's all the time we have. Thanks so much for joining us for CTV News. We'll see you again tomorrow for more news that matters to you. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.